Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Sonic Movie Show, the only show about Sonic news, movie news, and Sonic movie news. My name is Ethan, and with me here to do the Knuckles stuff that was in this show is Devin.
The muscles. That's right, folks. That's what people know me for is my muscles.
Muscles? Who says that in the show?
It's in episode 1. I think it's I don't know.
Okay. Fair enough, fair enough.
I just wrote it down. It's at towards the end of my notes. And it's before Wade talks about his childhood. So, somewhere around there.
Okay. Well, folks, if you haven't figured it out by now, if you didn't look at the episode title, didn't hear it read off to you,
Light spoiler, I
prompter.
mean, whatever. Right?
Yeah, we're gonna spoil the whole thing. I don't care. We watched the new Paramount Plus show event series, whatever they want to call it. It's a TV show.
Event. I mean, on IMDb, it does also still say 6-episode streaming event. But to be fair, I also saw another ad recently where it said event as well, and now I thought about you when you keep saying everything's an event. It's just marketing terms, but yeah.
Because they got to make a deal out of it because it costs more money than a TV show, or at least in theory. That's for like the Marvel stuff, but it's not as much as a movie. But they want whatever. We watched Knuckles.
Knuckles' pay range is getting up higher and higher.
I know.
I've heard so.
He was the most paid actor despite not being in the show all that much. We'll talk about it and more on today's episode of the Sonic Movie Show. Hey, while we're here, we just want to let you guys know that we did do a rewatch of Sonic the Hedgehog 2 recently with the director's commentary. Go check that out. And I say this because I'm thankful we did, so I kind of have a refresher on Knuckles 2-3 weeks ago before coming into the show. We watched it. 6 episodes. They were about, a half an hour each?
I think the first one was the longest at 34, and then they're around 29, 28, 32.
Okay.
It's like that. I think it's one of those things where, like, hey, it's for streaming, so we don't have to be as, 25 minutes,
right.
Where we have to worry about commercials.
Yeah, exactly.
I will say,
no time slot.
Fuck you, Paramount, because I had to fucking pay for the no ad ones because I was getting sick of it.
Oh, really?
Watching the first episode, and every 10 minutes, it was 3 minutes of ads. It wasn't that bad before when I first got it, and it was brutal. So, fuck you.
They knew they had to throw for the big guns.
I guess. Guess not fuck you because you made this, and so we can do this show.
Wow.
But yeah,
Yeah,
I make ad blockers for PlayStation.
I need to cancel
5.
my sub. I need to cancel my subscription. Because I
might watch the Bob Marley movie before I cancel it, but other than that, yeah.
There's a bunch of Tom Cruise movies on there. Maybe I'll watch some of those. But then
and that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie that came out last year that I heard was good. It was on there, so
I like the art
there's
style.
Maybe
it's unique. It's not that Pixar look everyone is kind of bored about. But I'm gonna cancel my subscription because I freaking did the 1-week trial for Ark. That was a couple episodes ago on the podcast feed on the YouTube channel for the Chronicles of Diesel, and obviously that week has been up, so it charged me, and I did the no ads tier because I'm like, well, it's a free trial. So
now I think about it, I don't remember there being any ads on Ark, but maybe it might be.
I remember in the episode you told me there was one in the beginning of every episode, and it didn't interrupt you at all. I think this is what you said in that episode of the.
This one it did. It was like it would. There was one scene where, why am I saying whale? Wayne. Wade. Jesus Christ, dude! I just watched this. God damn.
Whale Wayne.
I'm still fucking it up. Wade. It's like in that first episode where Knuckles, spoilers, throws the weights at him and he falls down and he does a thumbs up. It cuts to a commercial, then it comes back to him doing the thumbs up, and then it cuts again to a next scene. I'm like, it's not even at a good break. I'm like, it's just our algorithm that's like, this is the best time for an ad. It's nothing against the show. I know they probably don't have control over this, but it's just the platform as a whole. And I did watch it on Amazon Prime app on PS5, so I don't know if that has something to do with it either, but maybe. I just want to get my grievances out there that I'm like, I had to pay the extra $6 just so I didn't have to get constantly blasted with Dora the Explorer and Nickelodeon ads.
I watched it on the Paramount Plus website in my browser in Firefox, and the same
Okay.
thing with Arc. And every single time I go to hit play, I basically had to hit play 3 times. It would be the big play button in the center. I'd press it. It would begin to load up, and then it would go back to like the splash screen. Okay, I hit play again. It would load. Nope. Basically, I had to triple buffer this thing 3 times in order to get to start each episode, but it wasn't that big of a deal.
It's like a lawnmower, like an old lawnmower. You
Yeah,
have to rev it up a couple times.
I was never good at that, and I always felt
Yeah.
like, even when I was a boy, I felt less of a man trying to do
Oh,
that.
definitely. That is definitely like weirdly promotes, I think, toxic masculinity. I don't know if that's the biggest stretch, but or biggest
They
thing I want to
make
say.
it look
But
so easy, and it doesn't
I know it's
work
like my
for
dad
me.
does it maybe twice, and he gets it. And
Yeah.
I'm sitting there 20 times going, yeah.
Gotta
totally
do
get it. I'm
it
just trying to cut my grandpa's lawn. You know what I
rigidly,
mean?
quickly,
To help him out.
and you gotta go right back and do it again. You can't wait. Can't wait.
Yeah.
Lawnmower tip of the week for you.
Here on the Sonic Movie
Expect next week's tip to also include a weed whacker. Yeah, Knuckles, the event series, the show, the TV show. I got opinions, but you watched it this morning. I watched it yesterday evening. It is the day after. The day of this recording is the day after its release. What did you think? What was this?
Just overall thoughts.
Yeah, just overall.
I
We'll get
I
into
liked
specifics.
if there's six episodes, right? So if you split it kind of half, three, the first 3 episodes, I feel like I generally liked. I think the first episode is the strongest. Then there's some bright moments in the couple other episodes, second and third episode, and then the last two specifically felt like I was watching Dodgeball 2. And I say this because I mentioned it when we did the trailer reaction episode video that we did a couple months ago, where I was like, "Oh, ESPN ate the Ocho." That's a reference to Dodgeball. And then like watching this, I'm like, straight up, I'm like, this feels like some spin-off of Dodgeball. I don't mean that necessarily in a huge negative way. It just wasn't what I was expecting it to be. I thought that was just going to be a quick nod, and they were going to kind of just do it. But like Knuckles kind of disappears in those last 2 episodes, and then they're like, "Oh yeah, we have to have him fight the Hound from Game of Thrones because we kind of forgot about him as well." And I get it; it's 6 episodes, and maybe they wanted to get to this point quickly. But I feel like they needed to show a little bit more of that. But overall, like I felt like they started off really strong, and I was like, okay, cool. I'm liking where this is going. The humor is great. I like that they kind of made it more. Best way I can describe it is cartoony, or they stopped giving a shit about like making it realistic. And I don't like using that, but that's the best way I can describe it. Compared to the movies, I feel like they were like, hey, we can take some more liberties, whether it's with physical humor or physical props that they're using or Knuckles is using. Like he builds that entire fort in the house, and like I feel like if you did that in the first movie, it might have been like a little jarring. But I feel like they know this is a television show where they can take a little bit more risks and whatnot. But I feel like they had a lot more humor that was a little bit more raunchier too than the movies for some adults. But then also at the same time, I also feel like there was a lot of stuff in it for like I feel like kids would really enjoy. So I feel like the humor it's one of its strong suits in this movie. Not every joke lands for me, but a lot more landed for me in this compared to maybe some of the Sonic movies more. But I think it's also more. It's an extra like hour and a half of content that we're watching. But overall, I think this is just okay. I wasn't like blown away by it. I think it didn't stick its landing. I really liked what I saw in the beginning. It makes me excited more for Sonic Movie 3, what we'll see with Ben Schwartz with, Sonic, and Tails, Colleen there, and Idris with Knuckles. I want to see more of their chemistry, and I know it's only in the beginning. They need to make Knuckles the focus, but yeah, I'm kind of just like about it overall. I'm not gonna say it was bad, but I'm not gonna say it was good. I don't know if I'll want to watch this again anytime soon. We'll see. But yeah, I'm also kind of just slightly disappointed that there wasn't more Maybe they didn't want to, but like I wish there was something more kind of teasing us for Sonic 3 that we didn't get. I had a feeling once I didn't. I mean, I tried not to look on like the Sonic Movie Show Twitter just in case people binged it as soon as it came out or quickly surfed to see if Shadow's in it or something. So I had a feeling once I didn't hear anything, not that I looked for it either, but I was like, oh, there's probably not going to be anything tied to the third movie.
I got you. I got you. I want to be a little mean and say this was a huge waste of time.
Damn.
Yeah. So here's the thing. We watched the first Sonic movie, and we know, like, our opinions on it are like, hey, this is pretty good for what it is. It's extremely conservative, not in a political sense, but in a storytelling sense with the IP. It is. It's one of those things where, like, if they used the old design, we would probably hate the film. But because they tried to be more faithful and they really did do a last ditch effort to, like, make it look authentic, we are okay with the lack of Sonic stuff in that first Sonic movie. And there's a lot of, road trip, people, humans in there. And we go in the second movie and we're like, how much of this people stuff is going to be in there? Do I want? I don't know. But, like, what we got, we really liked. We thought this was funny. This was good. They're being used in a good amount. I
Like they
feel
had their we just watched the second one. I just want sorry to interrupt. I was just gonna say like in that second one, like there is that like 10 minutes almost of the wedding, or post wedding sequence, right? Where I feel like that was the one time Sonic isn't shown on screen, Tails isn't shown on screen. And I just want to preface that for maybe folks who haven't watched the movie in a minute, but like that was like the big part where
right.
I think I know I've seen some Sonic fans be upset about that, and for us, we've always kind of liked that. Honest, if it went on for another 10 minutes, that's a different story. But I feel like they did just the right amount when they're just doing human versus human only. But go ahead, I just wanted to preface that. Yeah,
Yeah. No, I was gonna get there, but and I feel like we praise that stuff because of they seem like they. I mean, maybe they had no idea and they kind of just got into the specific kind of ratio, so to speak, the way the timings and editing works on these different kinds of B and C plots. But we're like, hey, we still like this, and I want them to stay. We want these characters to stay and stick around. I feel like something happened in the response to the second movie where people had probably a lot of people had very similar opinions where they vocalized like, hey, I'm glad you got the crew to stick around. I'm glad, like, it isn't just the CG characters only, that type of stuff. But this was a prime example of we can save money by mainly focusing on people that we don't need to animate. And let's just mainly focus on that. And it was a huge, huge disappointment to me. I unfortunately had seen some of the headlines for reviews of the show before watching it. That said, like, Knuckles is barely in the show named after himself, and I was kind of nervous about that. And I watched the first couple episodes, and I'm like, this is still good and fine. Like, yes, he's not flying around doing action stuff, but he's in it a lot. And then the last 3 episodes happen, and I'm like, man, he's not in it really at all. This is a also weird thing where nothing really changes in the state. I mean, yes, we introduce some extra outliers in Gun. We introduce the possibility of other types of people that might wish
there was
to grab that power.
There was a section too about like Knuckles' backstory told through rock opera. And by the way, I want to ask because I swear to God, we've seen that like demon dude before. Where the fuck have I seen him before? Am I just
well, the fact that the episode is titled "The Flames of Disaster" and the fact that they call that in the thing makes me think of fucking Iblis from Sonic 06, and the
That's
fact
what he
that
kinda
rock
looked
demon
like?
guy seemed fiery. I was like, is this supposed to be a nod to that? That's wild if that is. But yeah, we'll get into some of that specifics. But I just like
Yeah.
overall, I'm like, I didn't need this. I feel like the character of Knuckles did not change. Besides a very, very loose understanding of individuality within a unit and how not everyone needs to be like him within his clan, his tribe, his friend group, in order to maybe have and maybe I'm going way overboard in saying this, but like have value and have like contribution. Maybe that's not even really what they're going for, but like
For me, it was
there's a
also
little bit of
just
that in there, but I feel like that character doesn't change. It's this other guy who changes, who I did like in the first movie a lot. Thought his jokes didn't land at all in the second movie, but still liked the character. And I know, obviously, Ben Schwartz and him are really great pro buddies, and this guy isn't going away. Adam
Paul
Pally.
Pally is his
Yeah,
is his,
character of
name. But
Wade.
I was gonna say,
I was like,
I also feel like
this guy
too with-
changed, but the show's not called Wade; it's called Knuckles. And we get a really quick action sequence that I swear spends more time having fucking Wade on screen than Knuckles. Makes me just, I don't know. I really feel like I could have gone without this. They could have not made this, and nothing changes for me.
I feel like the only benefit for the Knuckles character in this is just they can. I mean, I'm sure they're still going to do moments of it in the movie where he doesn't understand certain human things or whatever, because he does that a lot in the beginning, where he doesn't know what being grounded means and whatnot, or he doesn't understand that you can't just bring the mailman inside and lock him up to fight the dog. And I feel like they'll probably still do that in Sonic Movie 3. And maybe they're just going to use this as a way to kind of get him sped up compared to Tails and Sonic, who don't know the world, or who already know the world to a certain degree. When he didn't, he's still kind of new.
Kind of
so
like
maybe once the
easing
third
down that fish out of water sense, so you can have just the funniest moments and not literally everything.
But you can easily, I say in the third movie for audiences, you can just be like, it's been a year since.
Yeah, first 15 minutes can change all of that. That's the thing.
Yeah.
The way this character changes to the small degree he does can be done in the first 15 minutes. So I feel like the show didn't really accomplish much of that. The humor was mostly miss for me, especially once I started to notice that they do the same shtick all the time, where they build up. It's a very young kids type of show and humor.
Oh, for sure.
Where they build up to a serious thing, then there is a pause, and then it's a goofy thing, not what we expected. Oh, someone says something funny. This show just constantly did that, where it build up, there's a pause. Like it's just all the time. Now, not saying that I didn't find this show humorless. I loved the sister. I thought she was really funny. I actually liked the bounty hunter's second appearance, when he's got like the cage, and imagine being in that. If like, let's say like you had a lot of parking tickets and someone caught you.
I always think that's human
You're so
trafficking if I saw that on the side of the road, personally. I don't care what the sign says of fugitive. I'd be like, I think that guy's being trafficked. No, I liked him. I just keep going back to the movie Dodgeball and like that era of like Ben Stiller, Adam Sandler kind of movies.
Mm-hmm.
Without I've watched, I think, Dodgeball a couple years ago for the first time in a long time. I'm like, oh boy, there's a lot of homophobia in this.
Sure, there's a lot of parts that are like, all right.
Yeah, but I get that was the era. That was the
product of the
saying
times.
It's right or wrong, or a lot of stuff is wrong now. But I'm just saying of that time, that's what was like kind of the mainstream comedy. Will Ferrell, same shit.
Oh yeah,
where it kind of that raunchy humor was all the rage, and I just feel like a lot of these characters were kind of I just feel like I was watching those, and I don't know if I like it or dislike it. I just kind of was just like, this really felt like a weird Dodgeball or Balls of Fury or any of those kind of films, like those type of characters where like they have a gimmick to them. Like the motorcycle was a bounty hunter, but he's obsessed with his hair and his looks. Or his dad, who's like this great bowler, and he has this weird like English thing to him, and like that's his whole gimmick. And like it's funny, but it just felt like I'm like, man, this is like so, to me, just 2007, like just of like, hey, we're gonna have this guy who's just this. I just feel like when I've seen not that I've watched that many comedy movies in the past 5 years, but I feel like that's not what comedy is as much now mainstream. I'm not saying it's bad. It was just an observation that I wanted to point out that I really feel like I was watching, like I said, like a dodgeball knockoff, but for kids, I guess. Maybe that was on purpose for maybe people who were in 2004 college students are now having kids and maybe are watching this, and maybe a dad who's 35, who watched that. I was a little young when I watched Dodgeball, but I know like a lot of people who were like 5, 6 years older than us, watched those movies and do have kids now, or watch those movies and now have kids. So that maybe when they're watching, they're like, oh shit, yeah, I remember ESPN Ate the Ocho, like, or yeah, this guy kind of reminds me of a Ben Stiller character or something, or a Borat's another example, right, of that era of films where there's dude with an accent, he's stereotypical or whatever.
He's a character,
but
Yeah.
Yeah. Hope that all made sense, but it's interesting that they went that route. Like it definitely was different than I think the Sonic movies. Sonic movies had elements of your, like you said, like the pausing or just like references to pop culture. I mean, I think from what we learned from director's commentaries, a lot of stuff that Ben Schwartz also kind of improvs when he plays Sonic that kind of would fit what Sonic would do. And I think we got that a little bit in the first episode. I know Jeff Fowler directed the first episode, and I think that kind of shows. But yeah, the humor became much more, like I said, I guess, but I keep going back to it, just like that dodgeball mid-2000s era.
Bad or anything like that. Like what you're saying, like, it's just a different thing. It's just a different thing. And I'm not like upset necessarily that I watched it. It's just that I watched a show called Knuckles and got something else, if that makes sense. Like,
yeah.
I just
feel like if they did the first
Google
3 episodes and like that was it, I would have been. I think we would have a different conversation, because I'd be like, those felt more with the Sonic, Sonic movie vibe. This definitely was pushing. Like I said, I give it credit for trying to push the envelope a little bit with like, hey, we're not going to take the world so seriously. Like, this is also a TV show. They could always loosely make it not canon or whatever for the movies, and it kind of gave me just
the
like,
events that happen can easily be brushed aside. Like, there's the guy who, Sir Clegane or Clegane, whatever his name is, from Game of Thrones, the Hound, who in show is basically the villain from Iron Man 2. Whip guy. They could easily brush him aside, and because this show sets up like, oh yeah, there could be other. There's room for other people to have been like him, but they could easily say no, that was a one-off thing and whatever. But he's barely in it at all. And I had to quickly Google because I can never remember this dude's name. But Cary Elwes, who played the dad, Pistol Pete Whipple. I love this guy. He is, he's from Princess Bride, that old 1980s film. One of my favorite movies. He's the main character in that, and he's great. And he plays these types of characters all the time. All the time. What if he's a guest character on a show like Psych? He's coming in and he's this asshole. So he's really good. He's really good at it. And to see him in it, I'm like, you know what? I am not upset. But again, where's Knuckles? Where is he? Where is this guy? Even like we saw the trailer, and in the trailer they show a scene of Knuckles with the hat on driving the motorcycle. I guess my impression was that they didn't actually green screen out Adam Pally sitting up behind him on the motorcycle. Like, I don't know, it just felt like, God, I would never want to use this word or this term of false advertising when it comes to this shit. It's just babies use that when it's like, oh my God, they changed her outfit in Stellar Blaine. That type of shit. But the trailer did imply to me more of a Knuckles in the Knuckles ratio than what the show actually got. Case in point being the motorcycle thing. Oh, actually, he's there too. And like, I like the character. I liked this story, but like, I feel like if this show was titled Knuckles and Wade, literally from the very beginning, my impression going into the show would be very different.
Expectations would be
Expectation,
different.
that's the term I want to use. My expectations very different. And, I guess that is a little bit unfair. I get it. It's unfair to be like, well, if they titled it something different. But, still, I don't want to harp on this, but the show is called Knuckles. Just Knuckles. And for that episode, I think it's the fourth episode, where it's and I hated the musical segment, and I hated it so much. Flames of Disaster, that episode. Knuckles is like literally not in it besides the very, very, very beginning and the very, very, very end. It's this tiny
Yeah.
little thing on your timeline there in Sony Vegas or whatever they used to edit this together. I don't think it's called Sony Vegas. I think someone else bought it off of Sony, but still, and like they even went far as to have like the only Echidna character that Sega had made before that weirdo Ken Penders guy made all those comics where he claims he owns the idea of any Echidna ever. The only one, Chief Panchikamak, and I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. Not that that's a real culture. I understand its influences on Native American and other stuff like that, but still, they made jokes about in there, which made me forget how you actually pronounce his name. And of course, it's freaking what's his name from Back to the Future?
Christopher Lloyd.
Christopher Lloyd, who also played the villain in Kingdom Hearts 3's DLC after Leonard Nimoy, aka Spock from Star Trek, died, who was the previous voice. Anyway, yeah, they get him in there, and he's in for 2 episodes to be funny a little bit, and it's like they didn't do anything with him to the point where I feel like if we took him out and saved him for a moment where Knuckles is really low in his own fucking story, sorry to swear, that's how you bring this character in? Like, I get it. Yes, he's the Force ghost. He's Obi-Wan telling Luke, you gotta really try, man. You gotta really fucking try, man. You gotta work. But it's a funny twist on it, right? And I'm cool with that. But they use it on this other guy. So now, if there's any point in Sonic 3 where they're separated, you know what I mean, and Shadow has... Because I think the implication is Sonic and Robotnik have to team up at some point, based off how some people are describing the footage that was shown. Perhaps, potentially, it's also implying that Knuckles and Tails are away, and Knuckles is at his lowest, someone else is better than him, and blah, blah, blah. We have this guy show up, and it's going to feel less impactful if they saved it for a good moment instead of using it here. They use it in that first episode to remind us that he is the last Echidna, right? And so there's a lot riding on his reputation and his honor. Cool. And I did not mind, the character's introduction there at all. But then his only return is not to help Knuckles, is to help someone else. And I really didn't like that.
I also don't like the kind of, with that too, like Knuckles at any point can go Zen and kind of go back there. But then every time I think about these kind of criticisms, I go back to them like, this is, for me, more for the kids. And I think of like SpongeBob, where like there's certain elements where like, wait, that kind of breaks the what the canon would be for this or whatever, and it's like, it's a cartoon, doesn't matter. So I feel like that's kind of what the liberties they were going with this. So I think totally, I agree with you at one hand, but on the other hand, I'm like, from the beginning, I feel like they are trying to push the envelope on purpose to be like, hey, don't take any of this too seriously. The stakes aren't going to be high. There's not going to be like a cliffhanger at the end of this, like a Marvel show where, oh my God, Scarlet Witch is going to be the next villain or something or whatever. Like, there's no, don't worry about it. But it is a little weird where I feel like it's like, oh, he can just go to like the Zen space and talk to Grandpa basically at any point. And now other people can too. I do kind of like that
idea just in a vacuum, because it's like, this is one thing Knuckles can do that Tails and Sonic can't do. He can... I guess I kind of get it. And like, again, you talk about like the plausibility, the realistic sense of how this world operates, being altered for this show for a more, humorous, comical, effect. But like, the only reason why Wade was in that is because he electrocuted himself to being knocked out. And so, like, they could just joke, in a sense. You could infer that it never actually happened at all, and he was just out. I don't think that's the case. I think they were actually trying to do that stuff in there, but like, it's that level of like, I guess going back to the humor thing. I mean, I didn't like any of the musical stuff too, in that Flames a Disaster thing. But when they joke of like, oh, the power from within his heart, it's my fist, and then he leaves and it doesn't work, and he immediately is back again. And it took too long for that joke to work. I saw it coming a million miles away, every beat of it, and it just felt like I'm being, also dragged behind a limo trailer, my neck as I watched like this. I'm being very, very mean, but I feel like we together on the Sonic Movie Show have been very generous to both Sonic movies. We're not holding it up to like the standards of like the Da Vinci Code or any like super duper like seriously good films or funnily good films. What the fuck am I saying?
Saving Private Ryan, when we've talked about that,
or even just amazing
compared...
comedies or amazing kid shows. Like, we are giving it a lot of passes, those two movies, and I want to make sure. Hey, this is just me. I'll take this burden myself. We can't just brush aside everything. I'm not saying you are, but I'm saying like we, just as a group here, don't want to just brush aside everything because we just want to be on the gravy train of how awesome this is. I do want them to make more of these shows. I want them to expand this. It sounds crazy. I want them to get at most 50% of the way to what the MCU's output is with the Sonic series. I would be okay with that. I want that. I don't necessarily want them to go higher because then they make some bullshit. But
I don't want to get burnt, and then also burn.
You don't want to get burnt.
Just like,
I'm okay with.
Like I'm sick of the hedgehogs.
Basically, I want one thing a year, a show or a movie, one a year. So like, the Sonic movie comes out.
Yeah.
The Sonic movie 3 comes out in December. I guess you could technically treat that as next year. But like, okay, cool. Summertime next year, I would love to be able to have something of a similar length as this Knuckles thing, even if it's similar of importance, as long as
you want
it's
more
like,
people. You want more people? Give me Agent Stone. We've been saying it. We're Agent Stone fans. Give me Agent Stone. Give me Agent Stone 6th episode, just like this. I want him like, what was he doing in college? Like, doesn't have to even be anything about like what he does now. It could just be like a like
we told everyone
or something.
When we did that what's that video game called?
Mr. Bean
Diner Dash
Mr.
ripoff game we made.
Mr. Bean. Mean Bean, the Mean Bean Machine, whatever. Like it was a like a coffee sim was how we pitched it, basically. Diner Dash coffee sim. Because I know you can get like relationships was kind of our end goal at that. I would play that game unironically. Like,
we would play any of the games we made because we made them in our minds. Hey, and we did. It was called Sonic Frontiers. You're welcome, guys. We fucking laid that. Is true. We laid out that we laid it out
almost to a T. We were actually, it was
90% of the way there. We laid it out.
Yeah.
You're welcome. And I'm sorry if you hated it, but I mean, get over it if you did. That's my mean thing to Sonic fans. Like, I see some of them being like, it's not good at all. I don't want that.
The 06 fan remakes do a better job with the animation than Sonic Frontiers.
I don't even want those. See, that's the type of fan I find scary, and I want to antagonize those people. You know what I mean? They might dox you.
They lurk in the forests of our town that we have, our Sonic
But the
town.
forest they're used to is the gigantic open space in Sonic 06 where there's nothing going on. So unless they see a blue little a speech bubble of someone else 500 meters away, there's no one around them. They don't know how to walk through forest. Sorry. Hey, you had a reference in this fucking show.
I was just thinking of the M. Night Shyamalan movie, the town or whatever it's called, and
Village.
It's just like the village where they have the forest. I'm just thinking of like those are the people lurking in the.
I swear
we
that
have
was
our
based
little
off
Sonic
a book,
town
by the way.
Of Sonic fans. It's the Sonic 06 lovers.
And then she needs to get medicine for her brother, and she leaves, and all of a sudden it's like, that I swear I read a book
M. Night
in
Shyamalan is the most
grade
frustrating.
that was that story, and I don't that must have been based off that book. Anyway, he makes movies like a million times a decade, and I don't want him to stop.
Look, he has one every year. I've seen the last couple. I did like Knock at the Cabin, but I have such gripes with this man because half his movies are like you're ready for the twist. So you go in looking for the twist, and you find it usually in the first 10 minutes. You're like, oh, spoilers for the movie Old. It's like, yeah, no shit. The beach is making them old. It's got to be a science experiment. What the fuck is it? It's a fucking science experiment for some dude. It's like, dude, I love you, M. Night Shyamalan. Like, I love your... He has, like, great, like, cinematography and stuff, but, like, every time I'm like, bro, I feel like you, like, wrote this on a piece of paper sometimes, my man, and you're just like, yo, what if...
you're going to... Here's the thing.
What if the beach was old?
I'll give you an example of this working.
I love his work, though.
You have a history about twists, and you decide to make your twist be at the beginning. It's a cool subversion. You have a second twist towards the end. All right, BioShock. It was a big twist. You were being mind controlled the whole time with the phrase "Would you kindly?" Oh no, BioShock Infinite. There was the twist of like the multiverse bullshit shit that they did in there. Oh no. Now, for whatever reason, a lot of those types of games, those immersive sims, have to have some sort of twist in them. 2017's Prey comes out, twist right at the beginning. You're actually on a space station. They were trapped in a simulation of your day reset over and over again. Oh, no, okay, they got the twist out of the way. There's another twist at the end. You're actually one of the aliens in that game going through an entire simulation of the full game itself as an attempt to make a good alien or whatever. Like, I don't know, because it's a cool twist. Anyway, M. Night Shyamalan, where was your twist in this show? You didn't make it, but where was your twist in this?
I would love an M. Night Shyamalan Sonic movie, because I don't know what the fuck that would be. Oh, you know what it would be? It'd be Avatar. Never mind.
See, me trying to think of an M. Night Shyamalan Sonic thing,
would just be Avatar.
My brain is just jumping to Sam Raimi attempt.
I think Sam Raimi would do a better Sonic. That's a whole other episode we can do of like...
Okay, we get a better Spider-Man. Oh, it's our very easy, lukewarm hot take. Like everyone
right.
has that wants to act cool. Except
that's another episode idea that we should write down. Is like, hey, Jeff Fowler, he says he's done. He's done. Who do we want? Like dream director, just like that'd be fun. Like, okay, M. Night Shyamalan's making a Sonic movie. What does that look like? Okay, or Sam Raimi's making a. But which Sam Raimi? Do we have present day Sam Raimi, or do we go back in time?
I know we were dream booking this thing. So I was gonna say
early 90s.
The Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies felt like he cared a lot because he actually liked those comic book characters. The reason why that third one didn't do all that well is because they forced Venom onto him, and he didn't read any of those Venom comic book runs in Spider-Man. That wasn't his era.
He didn't care. He didn't see the Tom Hardy's Venom.
Yeah. I think it was supposed to be Vulture was the third movie was supposed to be as a villain. Man, Knuckles, the Echidna, his show. I
also want to point out, we were talking about cast briefly earlier. Wendy Whipple, his mom, is Stockard Channing, and I didn't know who she was, but then Bryn pointed it out that she is Rizzo from Grease. And I'm like, oh.
Very interesting. Is this our I almost said Ice Spice. Ginger Spice is the mom in Gran Turismo.
Yeah, it's just like these fun little facts. Yeah. She's also Aunt Frances in Practical Magic.
Never heard of it.
By the way, speaking of cast, now the biggest thing out of all this, because we haven't done an episode talking about it yet, because we're kind of waiting for it to be official.
Oh.
Keanu Reeves supposedly is Shadow the Hedgehog, and they once again reference him in this movie. And I really hope, I don't know if we talked about it in an episode, maybe we did, but off air maybe, where like we kind of want Shadow to speak at some point, and Sonic's got to say something like, "You sound familiar," or something like. I think it'd be kind of funny if he just makes a joke about Speed, because the poster Wade has in his childhood room is of Speed again.
Okay, I was looking at all those posters to see.
It was Speed. And now like this is the second time they dropped it. I'm like, maybe they've been There's a hint. They're like, yeah, we got him.
Either that, or it's just like one of the Raiders just likes that movie. Because when we learned in that director's commentary that the Olive Garden shtick wasn't a product placement paid for ad, they just threw that joke in there. Kind of changed my perspective on some of that stuff, because now I say this, but Zillow definitely was in that first Sonic movie I paid for advertisement because they called it out specifically. And Facebook Marketplace was called out at least 2 times, if not 3, in this show in ways where I'm like,
And Spotify was visibly
oh
shown.
my God. And called out. It was just like, oh, I'll check out my Spotify playlist.
Yeah. It's just
a couple times.
I want one of these days to say have a Spotify playlist of like the craziest music, like something that no one's ever heard of. Like, yeah, I just listened to like 70s jungle EDM before it was EDM. Like, I want some weird shit. It's always the 80s hits. 'Cause I know it's popular right now. I get it; they're fun. But
I wouldn't even say popular. I would say safe. Safe. It is safe for executives because it has an energy. It's basically just here is an energy we can present. And it would be cool if one of these productions attempted to hire someone to produce a modern day 80s inspired jam track. You know what I mean? I remember when movies used to have like songs written for them, like Eye of the Tiger. You know what I mean?
There was a song written for this though, because one of the episodes at the end, they were singing about Sonic and Shadow in a weird 80s style.
Yeah.
I don't know who it was, but that was only in that one episode. All the other ones were, regular, just your classic 80s hits. They should have just did the fucking soundtrack from Top Gun if you're going to do 80s. Come on now.
Hey, that was another thing. It was written. Those songs were written for that movie.
There's like an ad that does. Because I've been watching a lot of NBA playoffs, and there's this one fucking ad that keeps playing, and I forget. I don't even know what it's for because I don't care. But they keep using that song from Top Gun, and I'm like, fuck, this song does fucking slap. It's supposed to be like kind of like a romantic thing, but it just sounds so good. That boom, 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 boom. Boom, boom.
Speaking about songs, we didn't talk about our 2 Team Rocket like characters.
Oh yes, Kid Cudi,
Agent Mason, and Agent Willenby. But yes, Kid Cudi as Agent Mason. His first movie and TV credit, and it shows. But hey, it's fine. I as mean as I was on this show, I will give a pass to his acting in particular because it is like, all right, he's just a super fan, and they made it work, and it's just cool for them and to him, and a little bit for us, the fans, that he was in it. Also, just in coincidentally, timing. There's that part in one of the episodes where he gets thrown really violently and hits something. In real life, he like broke his hip or something, injured himself badly at Coachella by jumping off a stage in a weird way.
Was that him? I heard about.
Him,
I remember who it was. But I heard that someone had to cancel the rest of their
I think they just had the
year.
DJ set play afterwards, but just continue their thing. But he didn't commit to a jump, and he hesitated, and he fell and hurt himself.
It's actually kind of crazy because I feel like once a year there's always an artist who gets hurt on stage, of every genre.
Hey, they gotta try wacky things, They gotta.
I guess I'm always just like, how is this happening like that often? I'm just like, cause I'm trying to think. I know that like
on my set, I'm gonna have someone shoot me with guns.
I know, but it's
oh
like,
my
it's
god,
like,
I died!
I jumped and I fell in the wrong spot. I'm always just like, how does that happen?
I don't know.
If I have to perform on stage, I'm gonna be scared now. I'm gonna be like, I gotta watch out. I'm gonna fucking shatter my leg, I guess, and I'm just gonna be done. Rage Against the Machine canceled like their reunion tour because Zach De La Rocha there, I think I pronounced his name right, like fractured his foot, and like he finished the tour like just sitting on stage, but then they broke up again, and I'm just like, all because like if he didn't break his leg, maybe they'll be back. I don't know.
Maybe. Team Rocket here with these 2 agents, a little bit confused at the beginning because I think they need to just spell it out just a little bit more plainly, especially to the children that are watching, that these guys are no longer gun agents. They are betraying them, and they don't work for Robotnik or anyone else. They're just trying to get money. A little bit surprised by their seeming presence and then disappearance, just like Knuckles in this show. I actually
Yeah.
expected them to be in every episode like a Team Rocket, and a little disappointed by that. I thought they were fine. I didn't really have too much of an opinion. What did you think?
Yeah, I mean, I thought when we first saw the trailer that was definitely going to be like, oh, they're going to be the Team Rocket. They're going to show up every episode and get beaten or get
And they're very
thwarted in some.
goofy, and they're dumb, and they argue, but that's not really like you could tell. Like, no, you guys are just idiots. That type of stuff.
Yeah. And they weren't like, I would never call them dumb. They were just kind of just outmatched most of the time. Like, I think they were overly confident in some ways. In one hand, I'm like, great, we didn't do the Team Rocket thing because I feel like there's been other shows and whatnot that like people point to. They're like, oh yeah, it's inspired by Kid Rock or Team Rocket. Um,
That's one of those things where,
and
like, if they'd never say that if they never mention Team Rocket as any inspiration, then they're lying. They're just straight
yeah,
up lying. That's Jesse and James right there, just straight up.
yeah,
Um,
but it didn't feel like that either at the same time. So I thought they were just fine. Once again, I feel like there was too many villains. Like you had Wade's like villain, aka his dad, is past, and then you have Knuckles versus he doesn't even know versus the Hound. I don't think they ever give him a name. I think he's just like an old um uh worker basically for Robotnik.
yeah, I
And
don't
one
think they
another
actually
fellow
ever
mad
give him a name.
scientist. Um, and then you have the Team Rocket here, and it's just I feel like there's a little bit. I think they had to do the Team Rocket with the Hound matchup. I think like episode 2. I think they should just they failed once and they're working for him. You know what I mean? I think they should have just done that. I still think you could have had time to fit in the Wade dad thing, but I feel like that could have been one episode and not dragged out over what was 2 or 3.
At
Um,
least two, but like we were building up to it. Even beforehand, unfortunately.
yeah.
Um,
I think the final fight could have just been one episode. Like they could have
I
extended
wish it
that,
was
and then
longer.
and
I
then
get it.
had and then
Money.
had one episode just for like I don't mind the whole hey like a lot of television series have done this where they'll have like hey here's this one character's backstory or episode where it's just about them and like yeah if there's one Wade episode in this I don't, and then that was it that would have been fine bring back Knuckles but yeah it turned into like the Wade story around episode like 3-ish and then it didn't let go of that
Yeah.
as we
Yeah.
talked about before and I feel like these characters disappear because that's they were telling the Wade story and not the Knuckles story.
Yeah.
If we were telling
Also,
the Knuckles story, I think they would have been involved in some way, or there would have been
yeah,
another fight
it's
or
just
two.
weird. I want to know the decisions that led to them doing this. That the creative decisions to because obviously a main decision is money, right? Knuckles not doing as much action, let alone not even being on screen, means they're saving a lot of money, right? But I want to know the creative excuses almost that like allow them to be like, no, it's fine that the show called Knuckles is mostly not about Knuckles doing anything. If he just Eldris Elba is an executive producer on this show, probably just a contract reason why. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but
By the way, Kid Cudi has been in other stuff. I'm looking. He was in
really,
Westworld. Um,
really,
I wonder if on IMDb they just have him
they just has him
listed
by his
as
real
Scott,
name. Yeah.
and maybe in other ones he's listed as Kid Cudi, and that's
Okay.
why
Well, I
it
was
just
wrong
breaks.
then.
Maybe. Not that it
IMDb is a terrible
matters,
website,
but
so.
yeah.
Uh,
I was just looking. Sorry.
Also, just wanted to quickly say, the guy who played Jack Sinclair, the bounty hunter, aka his real name is Julian Barrett. I had to pause at one moment in that first episode because his voice sounded so much like what's his name from Taken, um,
uh,
uh,
Liam Neeson.
Liam Neeson sounded so much like I'm like, hold on a second, let me get another good look at this character. And okay, no, it's not him. This guy's a lot younger. But hey, if you're ever trying to do Disney, a prequel movie, you can have him as a Qui-Gon Jinn. He can do the voice. He also kind of maybe could look like him. Um, Man, anything else we want to say about this event series? I feel like we kind of laid
Um,
out our overall opinions, and I think we went through a lot of specifics. I guess my real question for you: do you think there will be a positive reception that's noticed by Paramount to a degree that could, reinforce what they're doing, or do you think that they're going to see reactions to this that might change how they're going to do things in the future regarding Sonic?
it's hard to know. I mean, if it was like a phenomenon, like I'm saying levels of like uh
Last
Last
of
of
Us.
Us or Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones is probably not a fair comparison. I think Last of Us was close to that level. I don't. I think maybe by next season it could be reaching that, where the average person. We've talked about this on the show, where the average person, uh, is talking about it. Someone who might not even play the video games or knows jack shit about it, and just heard about the TV show. My dad's watching Fallout, and he's telling me about Fallout, and
Mm,
I know a lot of people have been talking about Fallout, so maybe that can be a phenomenon, right? I don't think thinking the Sonic movies are at that level. They don't need to be to do well, right? And I don't think it's fair for them. They're not gonna be able to compete with the HBO Last of Us series, which Last of Us already is a big deal in the gaming sphere, and then having it do really well on TV. And HBO is usually seen as one of the few like, hey, no, that streaming service is worth it,
at
to
least it used
have.
to be.
It still has things like Succession and one and a couple other shows once in a while that do well. Um, but I'm going to say all that is that I think going unless a phenomenon happened between the show, and I don't think that was their goal with this. I think this was just like, hey, both these song movies have done well. Uh, we want to just maybe give a little extra story to Knuckles and Wade, or maybe we couldn't fit Wade and Knuckles in Sonic Movie 2. This is our way of kind of giving maybe fans more of them. I don't know if there's a plan for season 2. It might. I mean, money talks in the day. If they see the numbers are good, no matter if there was a Sonic Movie 3 coming out or not, that this might be a separate thing where like, hey, a lot of people subscribe to watch this. Sure, let's put another 6 episodes for after Sonic Movie 3 we can do. Or maybe we make a Sonic TV show. Maybe Sonic Movie 3 doesn't do well, but it's not doing terrible either that we can do a TV show. Um, that's always a possibility as well. So I don't know if there's any like, I mean, we're not in the room obviously, but just me spitballing here. I think they had plans to make this probably around the second movie, and the second movie did well. Even in that director's commentary, which I probably would guess is a month or so after that movie comes out, where Ben Schwartz mentions this show. If I remember correctly, they mentioned, oh, the Knuckles show that we're working on, tells me that I think this is already kind of part of the plan. If there's anything more in addition, I think it's just rather, will the numbers do well? I'm sure there's a benchmark they want to hit, but I don't know what that benchmark would be outside of just like, yeah, we had X number of subscribers. Let's see what Song Movie 3 does, and maybe we can talk about doing a season 2. Usually, if they announce a season 2 for a show that is a phenomenon, it's announced within like the first couple weeks. I think
Oh,
Last of Us
yeah.
didn't even finish their season by the time they're like, yeah, there's going to be a season 2. Um, Fallout, I think, got renewed not even a week ago as well for a season 2. So they have some sort of way to like, for the hype shows or the like I said, the phenomenon shows where they can be like, yep, let's book it. But those are also their own things. There isn't a movie attached to Fallout or anything like that.
True.
So I think that's what makes it funky. I think this is just an add-on kind of, if anything, a better comparison would be like the Monarch show that I watched for the MonsterVerse Godzilla
Mm.
stuff, where I feel like they're like, hey, we don't have enough maybe budget to do this as a full movie, this idea, but we want to still do it. Could we do it on TV and see how it goes? And we got a deal with Apple TV to do it. Cool. That's also a thing too. It's like down the line, I know Paramount owns this, so they probably want to do it on their own platform. But there is a possibility that rights can be changed and it could be on Netflix.
Well, apparently, Sony is looking into buying Paramount. So who fucking knows?
Yippee!
Yay. Yeah, I I just don't know, man. Like, I want them to do more. Like I said, it would be cool if there is a thing every year, a movie or a show that's in this universe, and I want them to be good, obviously. Um, I hope that their takeaway from this is they gotta do the numbers and do the math and their measurements correctly on how much of the people need to be in these things versus the characters of Sonic,
I mean, they'll
Tails,
see the
Knuckles, and
drop off
etc.
too if anyone, because that's the other thing is I never know how hard you can gauge this because some people just forget. Like, oh, sometimes it does take a full season to get into a show, and like not everyone has that time
Yeah.
or attention span. I think Game of Thrones, I always point to that. Like, even though that show is a phenomenon, I've watched that first season, and I'm like, man, this is slow as fuck. But it's so much world building, and then the last like 2 episodes, it's like this is the hooks. You know what I mean? This show, I think, was the goal. It ended. There's no like cliffhanger. This isn't like the Arc series we just reviewed, where it ends on
Oh,
a kind of mid-season finale kind of thing.
yeah.
This is clearly just we're doing these 6 episodes. So yeah, it's kind of tough to see like or how they would gauge like interest too. Like you can watch all the episodes and hate it, you know, but you can watch one episode and like it, and maybe those people didn't come back for whatever reason. But what is that number? That's always hard to tell.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Devin, for joining me, and thank you, audience, for joining us.
Should we rank this? By the way,
Should we
I
what?
mean, rank this on
Rank
the
this?
video game.
Well, it takes. Oh. I was gonna say on the. Remember, it takes 5 reviews to rank one of the movies. So I don't know if we're
I
there
don't know
yet
if
for
we're doing
this.
5 for the. We could always
I
give it a
don't know if I'm
tentative
doing
ranking
2.
because
Um, giving it a tier, like
tier
we
ranking.
do.
Yeah, like we
Yeah.
did for Last of Us and all our other video game movies that we've done. You know, I know Sonic had its own video game movie tier, but then we've also done the Sonic movie tier,
Yeah.
which I guess would
Yeah.
be in 5 years. So I guess that's my thing. Should we be ranking this on before we wrap up? I feel like it'd be weird, maybe not to do it on the
Um.
video game movie. We don't have a video game TV list, but maybe one
I
day.
don't have it set up for folks at home to see any of that stuff, but I mean, yeah, I mean, we on our movie review episodes, which I hope you guys watch, or at least listen to. We have these different tiers. S is like the greatest and greatest. Sonic 2 is in the S tier. Sonic 1 is in the A tier, which is just missing some sort of special sauce. B tier, there's more good than bad for sure. There's something where like, man, they actually got something going on there, and I'm glad this was fun, or cool. C tier is there's a lot that could have gone right and didn't, but it's not a trash fire. There's some things in there that's like, okay, yes, I liked this. Middle of the road. D is boring. There's way more bad than good. We might have an awesome premise that's squandered, or we might have just a faithless interpretation of the video game it's based off of. E is just straight up really, really bad films. These usually don't give a shit about the IP that it's based off of, and they just wanted to make a movie, and this is how they got funding for it. I swear that's how the Monster Hunter movie was.
Yeah.
Was. And then the F tier is, the Uwe Boll special. I guess personally, if I'm gonna throw it out there, I'd put it in D.
Hmm.
That's my personal.
D
Again,
for
like
Knuckles.
I okay, fine, K. It's even lower. Or N if we wanted to go off of audio like pronunciation. No, I feel like this was very boring. I mean, we talked about for this for an hour now. I feel like there's very little things where I'm like, yes, this is good. I could have gone without this completely. So yeah, I'm gonna say D.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm definitely I think there with you. I wanted to like give it a C, but like it just didn't stick the landing. And like what we talked about, it just felt like a different movie we were watching, and then Knuckles appeared. Like it felt like Dodgeball or those kind of era films, which is fine. It just wasn't what it kind of started off as, and it just turned into the Wade show, which is once again, it just feels I don't know, it just feels like we went into it thinking it was going to be all about Knuckles, and it just kind of turned into mostly about Wade. There was Knuckles stuff, but yeah, it's just didn't stick the landing. I think if we had what we had in the first like 2, maybe 3 episodes throughout, I think you could have had a C, maybe who knows, maybe a B tier here. But yeah, I mean, I didn't want to, but because Sonic movie as the franchise, has been such a cool like Cinderella story with the first movie, and then the second one being like, hell yeah, this is an S tier because it just compared to all the other video game movies we've watched, it's up there because of it has that secret sauce. It's faithful to Sonic and what he means. Maybe not everything is canon or whatever to the real fans, whatever, but you just know it when you saw it, where you're like, yep, this is just a fun movie. We've watched it 5 times, and every time we're like, yep, this still holds up. If I ever have kids one day, I hope they see this movie and they enjoy it as much as I do. But this one, it's like, man, I just can't in good conscience put it any higher. I agree. I wanted to. I really do. Like, I was trying to think of ways to like give it benefit of the doubt, and we talked about like we weren't trying to glaze the show, and we let some things pass in the other movies, and on a video game movie curve,
Right.
but yeah, there's this. It's just painfully fine as a regular show, but then it's also called Knuckles, and it just felt like 2 different shows trying to happen at the same time, and it just didn't
Yep.
work.
Yep. And hey, it doesn't mean that there shouldn't be a sequel series. I guess. But when we say that, I guess I don't necessarily mean a sequel to this series, more just like more shows in this universe starring the character of Knuckles. I will say this just to throw it out there before we kind of end. A show I would much rather have watched. You get brief little snippets of an idea for it in the very first episode. I would be okay with just a 6-episode mini sitcom that's just Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles in the Wachowski house.
Yeah.
The neighborhood
They're going shopping and they have to stay home, or they're going into the movies.
I would
for
have
a
found
night,
that
and then
far more enjoyable.
didn't even need action. We didn't talk
Yeah,
about it before, but he did do the cool dig thing finally, which is cool.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
but yeah, like the action, I get it. Like they said in the director's commentary, they're trying to do Marvel to a degree with some of this stuff, and I have liked some of the parts in the Sonic movie too. But what I've always liked is the relationships between Sonic and his fellow cast
His
members.
friends,
I
yeah.
guess is
Let the
his
characters
friends,
breathe.
his family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this was fun, Devin. Thank you. Once again, thank you for being with us, and thank you, audience, for being with us as well. Hey, folks, remember, we're the Sonic Movie Show. You can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, YouTube, and other places at Sonic Movie Show. Hey, if you only listen to us on like Spotify or Apple Podcasts or Audible, why don't you come over to the YouTube channel and give us a follow or subscription, I guess is what it's called. A like, maybe comment in the down below. In the
Those go a
comments.
long way, folks. Like,
It does. It helps the algorithm.
I don't think people realize how much it does. Just even giving a like at the end of after you've watched the video, giving it a
After.
like.
It's very weird. They know if you like it before, and they don't really count it as much as if the like happened after you actually watched it. They know if you mute videos, and they know if you type in the comments like for the things like for the algorithm or like, or they know what phrases are suspiciously boosting or bots or whatever. So give us an authentic comment below about the show. Did you like it? Do you think it's better than what we kind of graded it as? Let us know. Also, over there is something. Click it. There's, I don't know, maybe our Sonic 2 re-review from a couple of weeks ago. Who knows? Well, until next time, Knuckles out.
Knuckles out.